Well, welcome. It's Inauguration Week. Yeah, I'm going to title this From Surgery to Inauguration. Let's see, what will a viewer benefit or learn from today? Let me cover a couple of topics. Surgery advice, California fires, and the Senate hearings. How am I going to tie all those together? Well, that should be enough for one segment. I had a very serious lower back surgery shortly after the election. It was a spine surgery, so very involved. My recollection of the immediate aftermath of the win is somewhat hazy, but I think that it was actually to my benefit. I had no interest in seeing the reactions of liberals as other news sources had. Look at this blue-haired lady as she confronts the reality of Trump. Now that it's rolling out after the inauguration, though, now it gets interesting. A little bit about the surgery. I will only say that it gave me a very great new lease on life. Zero pain, maximum mobility immediately. Like week 1 through week 9 where I'm at right now. Now that wouldn't go for everyone. My advice before doing it is to prehab. So get in as good a shape as you can be, even if it's just walking. Of course, swimming is the best, and I would ultimately really recommend using small fins. It just puts your back in the right position that it's going to need to be before and definitely after. I'm pursuing that heavily. But there's a psychological component to a surgery like that also. If you've been in pain for a long, long time and now you have little or no pain, you get extremely extroverted. Now, it might be sleep deprivation, so don't mistake it for that, but my wife did not like it at all. I don't know if it's the medications or what, but prepare your family and friends for a new you. A fellow podcaster, Diane Moore, had a neck surgery about the same time this last fall, and she related it in a segment she did, though her niche is actually helping others with their podcast skills. I find her content great for various things, but I had the previous psychological observations to add as well. So yeah, now that I'm a new man, as it were, I'm seeing reports now, though, that the polling has reflected that Biden is now considered the most unpopular and corrupt president in history. Now, maybe polling on this question's relatively short span, but if that's the case, well, I'm just trying to get my head around that. I hope that poll perseveres and lasts through decades now, as really the exposure has occurred now. I'm taking a really informal poll at myself, asking anyone that's around me that I am pretty sure didn't vote for Trump if they regret voting for Biden in 2020 and 2024. Or Kamala, I guess, in 2024. Almost Biden. Given what the full outcome of the Biden administration was, now this includes Afghanistan, the exposure of his family's businesses, dealings, the Hunter laptop and pardon, etc., etc. All of the corruption that I believe is what historians will deem his administration and him personally as representing. The voters were responsible for Biden, or bite me, as Rush Limbaugh previously exclaimed. Unless they admit the 2020 election was actually rigged and that the J6 protesters were completely correct, I don't see any way around it. Now, stay with me on this logic here. In the recent hearings about cabinet positions that are ongoing as I'm speaking, there's a lot of energy around trying to get the nominees to admit that the 2020 election was not rigged and was therefore legitimate. I guess not recognizing the election messaging, the American people didn't buy it. Turning the tables, as I see it, the question should be asked of the Democrat senators to get them on a recent record. Were a majority of people misled into voting for Biden in 2020, or was it a corrupt election by the Democrats and Trump actually did get more votes? So it's either each senator takes responsibility for the Bite Me administration, which means they should never be elected again, or they stand by the 81 million votes and they have to take responsibility for their individual vote. And yes, the J6 arrests up also. To quote Bite Me, come on, man. If I were a nominee, I would have answered, I simply don't want to believe that a vast majority of America, 81 million votes, was so wholly unaware, so staggeringly ignorant, so completely and totally misled, without the ability to discern at any level, that they would vote for someone who is obviously incompetent even then and getting much worse in office. And that really happened. Senator, did you vote for Biden? And close the questioning of the interview with, now that you've been exposed, thank you for your vote on my nomination. It's the only way you can make up for what you've done. Twisted reasoning or Twilight Zone-like way to address it? We'll see. Oh, then there's California. My simple message here is that I don't want any of my tax dollars spent, with the exception of FEMA to keep people alive for 60 days. If they're rebuilding, then their insurance should kick in. If they're moving, God help where they're moving to. I am involved in a blue state to red state move myself. Hunting for a house and in that process in the southeast right now. Yes, me moving from a blue state to a solid red might seem hypocritical. I went there this past week, yes, my first trip after the surgery, and when I was getting off the plane at my destination, there was a lady behind me in the aisle that was telling someone else that she was from California, and I couldn't help cringe that they were coming there to look for houses. I'm just hoping my offer's accepted before more come to the area. Then I can have some sort of role in vetting them, if that is only to stare them down. Bad reasoning leads to bad thinking. Bad thinking leads to bad decision making, and bad decision making leads to bad execution and outcomes. And to repeat, no money to California until after their next election. If they vote right, they get help. Might sound cruel, but let them sit there and fester for 3 years and 10 months. I think I'm going to fit right in with my new red state brethren. Anyway, that's an abbreviated version of my thoughts today. Please like and subscribe. I'll even cruise the comments and respond where I can. If you've never heard this term before, it's a great inauguration week. Nice.